Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Thursday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, today was one of those mornings where I came across this story, and this story is popping up a lot. And I saw this story, and I just right off the bat, I had a lot of opinions. I feel very strongly about it. It's something that's been on my, it's gone through my mind a lot before. Being 58 years old, I've been in a lot of relationships, and this is something I feel strongly about. If you've been watching my channel, you probably know that I'm not a big sports guy. I'm not into sports. To be totally honest, I really couldn't care less about football or baseball or hockey. The sports, I never cared for competition, like against other teams or other people. I was always attracted to things where I was competing against myself, like skiing, surfing, skateboarding. In high school, the only team I was on was I was on the track team, and I would throw the javelin because my long arms. And I paid more attention to beating my own distance than beating the other teams. You know, their best throwers. So I've never been a competitive person. Before this morning, I never heard of either one of the two people I'm going to talk about. Not a clue. Never heard their names before this morning. But that doesn't really matter because it's the conversation they're having that I want to talk about. And I'm not sure what this TV show is. The links will be right down below. So it's pretty much, it's probably trending this morning, this conversation. And it's about what this woman said, BRITTANY RENNER. Never heard of her before this morning, but she said something on this show. She stated a fact of her life, and it seemed to shock the host. All right, let me describe this to you. Like I said, I think it's a sports show. The links will be down below, so you could actually watch this. And it's a the person, the commentator, the person in charge of the show is Pro Football Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe from the Denver Broncos. Not a freaking clue who he is. I never heard of him before. And the woman he's talking to is BRITTANY RENNER. Now, she is a superstar Instagram influencer dealing with health and fitness. So I'm kind of interested in this because she's a creator, albeit a much more popular and successful creator than I am. And health and fitness, another thing I'm interested in. Okay, so the clip starts in where they're talking about her relationships. And I guess she's got a son. She was on Basketball Wives, another show, not a clue, never watched it before. But like I said, none of that matters because it's this specific conversation that I have so much to say about this. I have a bunch of notes in front of me here, so when I look down, you'll know what I'm looking at. Okay, so the conversation jumps in, and he doesn't ask her this, but she just comes up and says it. She talks about Derek Jeter and all of his relationships because he's one of those guys. It reminds me of, if you're old like me, I think of Arthur Fonzarelli from Happy Days. You know, he had women. You know, he'd date like 7 or 8 women a night. You know, and guys like me grew up watching that, and you know, it made it appear that guys that dated a lot of women, you know, even a lot of women in one night, are the coolest guys around. But the women that date a lot of men or are, let's see, for the sake of this video, seeing as I've got the strike already dealing with topics like this, I'm just going to say intimacy or relations. When you consecrate a relationship, you know, the final going all the way, let's say. And, you know, we grew up with stuff like this, you know, and I for one, just don't believe it. I think it's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. And I'm going to talk about that. So in this clip, she talks about Derek Jeter and his history with women. And she says that she has been with 35 men. And I looked it up. She's a 31-year-old woman. And to me, to be totally honest with you, to me that sounds like a perfectly average number. And I've got a bunch of I've got my reasons here in front of me. And so Shannon Sharpe, Mr. Denver Broncos Pro Hall of Famer, he makes a big big show. Like, I think he's trying to be funny, and you know, he puts his head down, his eyes are all big, and then I guess they're in a bar. That's where they're filming. You know, that's the movie set. the TV show set is set in a bar, like, conversations, in a sports bar kind of thing. And he grabs a bottle and takes a big swig. And I won't get into that now, but that's another thing that drives me crazy. Being somebody that's clean and sober for 17 years, this thing with alcohol, like on a daytime show or a morning cooking show or something like that. You'll see the guy like Emeril Lagasse say something about putting tequila into a recipe, and the whole crowd goes, "Woo, yeah!" Like, yeah, I like drinking stuff that makes me sick and forget and stupid. So anyway, Shannon Sharpe, Mr. Denver Broncos, takes a big swig off the, like, oh, he can't handle, oh my God, she said 35 men, so he makes a big deal out of this. Does anybody else want to drink of this? He goes, like he needs to drink after hearing that. Seriously, I know he's kidding around, but this is just, it's stupid. I am so sick of this. And I got some points here. Okay, the first one. Okay, since, like I said, we grew up watching guys like Arthur Fonz or the Fonz from Happy Days. Okay, so here's the question, and this is just, it's illogical to believe this. So men are revered for them, losing their virginity first, being with the most women, and like Fonz, they're the coolest ones. But it takes two for this situation to occur. It takes the male and the female. For the sake of this conversation, we're just going to go with this male-female relationship. I don't want to make this any more confusing than it already is. We could talk about the other relationships some other time. Okay, so if the men are having relations, then who are they having it with? It takes two to complete this act. So guys look at each other and slap each other on the back and congratulate. They do. I know. I was one of them back in high school, and thankfully, due to my experience, I think this is ridiculous now. All right. So who are they completing this act with? And this has got to be the thought in the back of all men's minds, that it's women of ill repute. So when a guy starts racking up his numbers, loses his cherry, so to speak, it's always they go to the bad women, the women of ill repute. So in their minds, there's just this small percentage of dirty girls that the guys will go to get experienced on, because being experienced, and it's manly. And that's just freaking ridiculous. It's unrealistic. Which brings me to my next point. Women have sex drives. I think a lot of guys still don't even believe this. They think, the men have sex drives and we're just built like this, and that's why we cheat and that's why we lie and blah, blah, blah. We're different than women. That's a bunch of crap, man. Believe me. I'm going to say it. There's this one guy that he calls me a liar because I said I've had relations with over 100 women. I've been dating for over 40 years, and 2.5 decades of those years were through heavy consumption of illicit materials and alcohol. So, if you break that down, I don't even know. There's been multiple times where I met, this is back in my 20s or 30s, like I met a girl working at like a convenience store, and I see her looking at me. I give her my number. We go on a few dates. I don't even remember this woman's name. That was 30 years ago. I can't even get an accurate count, and honestly, I'm not proud of that. If I could go back and change it, I think I would. And a lot of those relationships were just bad decisions, really. But anyway, women have sex drives. Since I've been clean and sober, I'm coming up on 17 years. I've been with two women. The first 7 years, I was completely celibate and just worked on myself, getting in shape, getting clean and sober, which I think worked out phenomenally for me. And the first woman I dated, I knew her from high school. I dated her sister back in high school, and I saw her on Facebook. And this is what she actually posted. We'd kid around. We were friends. We knew each other from before. she posted this picture of her sitting on a chair, like, looking sexy, looking very pretty. And it says, how come when I'm horny, nobody's around, or something like that. And I later found out that this was a contest, like a dare thing, where one woman would challenge another woman. Like you could say one of these three things on Facebook. It's a challenge, and that's what it was about. It wasn't an actual statement. But anyway, I spoke up. I said, me, I'm here. And we actually started dating, and we had a great relationship for a year. And this woman, she was divorced. She'd been married for 20 years. And she had a phenomenal sex drive. Like, it wore me out. One weekend, seriously, one Saturday and Sunday, Friday night to Sunday morning or Sunday night, we're talking 7-8 times. The thing that keeps going through my mind is a pencil. If you put it in a sharpener and it just keeps getting worn down, that's what I felt like by the end of the weekend. But my point is, women have sex drives just as much as men, if not more, especially if what I found, like in their 40s and 50s. I've never dated a woman older than that, so I'm not sure about the 60s and 70s, but I wouldn't doubt it. It's just women can't talk about this. Men can talk about fantasies and who they've been with, and it's cool. It's locker room talk. But if women talk about this, about being horny, about hooking up or whatever, then they're looked at as a completely different way. It's ridiculous to think that women somehow don't have the same physiology as men, that they're somehow more pure due to their childbearing motherly instincts, that they don't have these drives. That's a bunch of crap, man. Let me tell you that. Okay, let me see. On to the next one. This is what I believe too. I think women need to be more selective. They have to try out different flavors, so to speak, because I got to be careful. I don't want to insult women here, but they are men are stronger, and they can get in a bad relationship. I think it's good because a lot of men too will lie just to get what they want. So I think women tend to see what the real person is like after they have relations with this guy, because then he kind of relaxes, because he's if he's one of those guys that is just out for one thing, his guard comes down, and then his true nature comes out, because most guys put on this mask, and they open doors, and I've talked about, I really do open doors even after relations. I do that. I consider myself one of a good dude. Anyway, they have to. It's better to experience a lot of different men and different relationships than get stuck in a marriage where you're in an abusive relationship, or you're just not happy, you're just not satisfied. And that's another thing, that I don't think men want to talk about. Men it's a lot easier to hide their physical characteristics under clothes than with women. And like I said, women have sex drive, they have desires. And once the two people are in an intimate situation and she sees, the clothes come off, and she sees what this person looks like, or how he performs, she may not want to spend the rest of her life suffering with an underperforming guy. I think women need to sample the field as much, if not more, than guys, just so they're not stuck in a relationship. They're not in a relationship that they're going to regret for the rest of their lives, just like guys. Go figure. They're people just like guys. Can you imagine that? Okay, now let's do the numbers here. So BRITTANY RENNER is 31 from what I saw. She graduated, I think it was Mississippi State. She played soccer. She was like a professional, or not professional, but a high school soccer star, a college soccer star. She's 31 years old. Let's do this by the numbers. Okay, I told you guys, I do not have a good story. This is the first time on this channel that I ever told anybody my true story of how I lost my virginity, and it's not a pretty story. It goes back to the abusive being sexually abused it's a whole other story. I don't want to talk about it now, but I was 14 when I lost my virginity. Okay, so say before high or during high school, say she had 3 relationships. That's, I don't think that's much for a guy or a woman, man or a woman. So that's 3. In college, how about 2 a year? 4-year college. So that's 8, 3 and 8. Okay, so she graduates college at 21 or 22. She's 31. Let's say 10 years out of college. Let's say 2 a year. That's 20. So 20 and 8 is 28, and 3 is 30. We're a few shy. That's 30, 31. She said 35. So throw in a few extra after college. That really isn't out of the realm of a lot of relationships for a man or a woman. Especially when you're considering when you're in college, you're out, experimenting, you're out learning about life, spreading your wings. I think 2 per year is for a man or a woman is unrealistically low, probably, especially the first few years of college, and then you probably get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and you kind of settle down a bit. Then maybe 2 relationships a year is more realistic, but I'd say that for the first years of college, maybe 3, 4, 5. And how is it the guys get all psyched, they all get they get all ready for a party, and their main goal is hooking up. They go out, they get buzzed, they get all dressed up, they get the cologne on and everything, if they have a car or whatever, the tunes washed, they get all psyched up. So who are they supposed to be hooking up with? It's unrealistic, and it's just stupid and illogical to label women as as bad. When who are these guys being intimate with? They have to be intimate with somebody, and it's not just this little small section of specially appointed women of ill repute. That's not how it works. Okay, now on to the experience thing here. This is what I've learned. Don't ask. This is in the 2 last relationships I had, I never asked. I had one relationship with the woman I just talked about, for a year, and we almost moved in together, and she was still close with her ex-husband, and it just got down to the point where I couldn't deal with it. And they were in the kitchen, my girlfriend, her ex-husband, and their child, and talking and cooking dinner, and I'm waiting in the living room. Seriously, that happened, and I couldn't deal. There was too much of a relationship there, and I just couldn't handle it. But anyway, then there was Audrey, and I lived with her, and I never asked her the number. There's nothing good can come out of asking a potential life partner or a potential girlfriend or boyfriend how many people they've been with. It's a number. It's something you just don't want to know, because you're going to compare it against yourself. If it's too low, you're gonna think the person's inexperienced and doesn't know what they're doing. If it's nothing good could come of this. Once you get to the point, unless you ask this person on the first date, which I don't think is going to happen, you wouldn't ask this number probably until into the relationship, and unless you're really socially inept. You go on your first date and say, hey, how many guys you been with? You're probably not going to get a second date. So you're going to be into the relationship with this person. So at that point, you've probably already made up your mind that you're going to stay with this person. So why are you asking them this? If you're both going to assume that you're free of any diseases or anything else like that when you first start the relationship, when your first time you're intimate, hopefully. So that's not a reason to ask this question. There's no good reason to ask the question how many people you've been with. I never told. It never came up, and I wouldn't talk about it. If it did, I just say it's best we don't talk. Nothing good can come out of this. Me telling Audrey, or the girl Paula before her, that I've been with over 100 women. What possible good could come of that? Some men might chauvinistically think that it makes them look experienced, a better lover. But no, women are just like guys. It makes you look like a male pig. And no matter what number the woman says, the guy's going to start, picturing, who were they? What did they look like? Another question, never ask how big another person was, a boyfriend, or who the biggest was. These are questions, there's just nothing good can come of it. And that, from my experience, seriously, it's just, I've had great relationships by not asking these questions. Nothing good can come of those questions. Don't ever ask a potential relationship or life partner how many people they've been with. It's in the past. It doesn't matter. If you love the person, you love them. You don't love them because of who they were 10, 20 years ago, or what they did when they were 16. It does not matter. Don't ask that question. All right, I'll be back later. The links will be down below. I'll be back later with another video. You guys have a great one, Thursday.